couple minutes.
In a couple minutes. So, yeah, so I'm curious how far around, because there are old skid roads out past, you know, that go up past Mountain Lake, certainly, that kind of loop around that big knoll that's kind of behind it.
They figured that it was a little over a mile from where they're landing the wood to the very end of where they cut to.
So really? Huh. So I remember in the quote there, the bid, there was said 5 stream crossings, and I was thinking, boy, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're not, they say stream crossing, but it's more or less a seasonal drainage, so. But they put a lot of pipes in for that, and then they pull all that stuff out at the end.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good project. I'm glad they finally got something done.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to go more towards the west, northwest of that lot eventually? Just because so much of the side of Comeau Crown is beach.
I doubt it.
Yeah, just to diversify.
I doubt they'll be able to do anything there. It's just not economically viable.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
They used to have a lot of TSI programs. They used to do a lot of burning too, but the powers that be don't have the stomach for that anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I saw there was some trouble up in the White Mountain National Forest this year with burning.
Yeah. Yeah. The feds can get away with a little bit, but the people at the state forestry level don't have the stomach for it. Any little thing happens and they get petrified of it. So
yeah, I understand why. Yeah. 7 o'clock. Look at that. Good time. All right. Today is Monday, October 9th, 2023. It's 7 p.m. I'm going to call to order the Town of Brookfield Planning Board's monthly meeting. Go through a roll call. I am Tim Straz. Ed Ingles. Terry Ward is excused. Gus Stratton is excused. Carrie McNabney.
Present.
Marshall Goldberg.
Present.
And Rich Zacher is excused. Marshall, would you like to be a voting member of the board tonight?
Please.
Thank you. All right, the first item on our agenda is a review of a subdivision application for tax map 5, lot 2, which I have right here.
Right.
Thank you. So what we do in this process is we're going to review and make sure we have all your documentation in here in order to go through the subdivision process. And then from there, we will get to the point whether or not we can vote for completeness. And if we vote for it being complete, then we'll schedule a public hearing for the subdivision presentation. And then there we'll have a public hearing. We'll hear from yourself about the plan, and then we will have get public comment, feedback, and we'll do a vote, and and we'll see where we're at. But if you have a comment or anything to begin, happy to.
Sounds good. I think I'm pretty well complete. It's subdividing a small parcel off of the larger that my folks own.
Yep.
I'll be building a house for myself on there, and that's the intended use of it. Be coming off of Governor's Road, currently on the corner of Moose Mountain and Governor's Road.
Yep.
Well, I believe my packet is complete with the exception of the Mylar, which I was holding on until
that's perfect.
See if there were any comments from this evening, any modifications I need to make.
That sounds great. That's fine for that. So we will.
And the DOT, I've included the state driveway permit application.
Yes.
I've been in conversations with George, representative from there. It's ready to go. It needs a signature, and they were out today. There's been some. They came and visited the site last week. They talked through. There's after the storm damage to 109, they kind of giving a little more consideration on a case-by-case scenario, I believe, to the culvert versus swale conversation. Is a culvert practical?
Yep.
Etc. I don't mean to speak for them.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of the
Yeah.
kind of the delay, but I shouldn't have it within the week they anticipate.
Yes, and the driveway permit is not contingent on your subdivision request.
Okay, perfect.
So you're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Shall we go through it? Except for I have the tax map wrong, it should be 15 instead of 5, I believe.
Yes, I think that, yes, yeah. Yes.
I did that, I was incorrect.
Yeah. I looked at the agenda today, and I knew that it was going up, and I didn't. It is 15.
Yes.
I think by now I will know it. I typed it in enough.
All right. Yeah, you want to double check for me? That'd be great.
It is.
All right. So, shall we go through it? Yeah, we should open up the book and get the checklist here. We'll go through it.
Because I included it in that packet, I think I just may have put it at the end.
I'm sorry?
I think I put it in that packet, I just think I have it at the end.
Yes.
The
The
checklist.
checklist.
Yeah, you have it on the checklist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll just, I always open them, grab my own and we go through it.
Fair
Just
enough.
make sure. Procedure. All right. Complete pages 1 through 10 and the following. So we'll start. Let's start with the requirements here, which is for subdivision of land. 10 copies of the application and checklist form, of which I think we have 1. Yeah, although I think we have 10 copies of the map.
I think we printed 10 copies.
10 copies of the application, and, yep.
Yeah, I printed 10 copies. Okay.
So we'll do this. We'll keep going through
Yeah.
here. We'll keep going through it. It's no big deal.
Sure.
We'll figure it out at the end here.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So let's see. We have this. We need 4 plats prepared by a licensed New Hampshire surveyor. Any appropriate engineering drawings must be presented with the application of public hearing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 111 by 17. Those I think are the 10 that we have. So we're good there. 1 Mylar, which we talked about, will be can be submitted at a later date. 3 sets of mailing addresses, which we have right here. All right, let's go through owner of record, name of applicant, the total acreage, overlay district, proposed number of lots is 2. State highway, no. Yep. All right, so we'll go through the list. So list the map. 8
Folks. There
folks.
plus the surveyor.
Yep. So if somebody wants to look at a plat and we can check to make sure that we have 8 abutters, that'd be great.
Oh,
I have
good start. Lot 2B, that's map 15, lot 2B.
So this is, letter should be listed somewhere.
So, it's on the sheet right here.
Okay.
And number 8 would be the current landowner of this.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the 9, okay.
And then the 9th would be the
Okay.
surveyor.
7 on here.
Yep, very good. Excellent. So let's, so as far as our butters, we have all of our, we have envelopes, we have I've got 9 mailings. We have a check for 484, so just need to make sure our fee schedule is covered. So 100, 150. Four, so it's right there. So did you have any waivers or anything that you were looking for with this subdivision that you wanted to know?
No, I wouldn't qualify.
Okay,
Free and clear.
all right, very good.
Thank you.
We want to review the plot for all the requirements. You want me to read through it? Name of subdivision, name and address of owner of record and applicant, name of town of Brookfield, New Hampshire. Yep.
Yep.
Name, license, number, and seal of surveyor or other professionals such as designer, planner, soil scientist, etc.
Yes.
North arrow, scale, written, and graphic. Date of the plan,
Yes.
town tax map and lot numbers.
Yes. 2B.
Sheet of size of paper copy is 22 by 34, we got that. Plat shall be at a horizontal scale of not more than 100 feet to the inch.
50 feet.
Signature block for planning board endorsement, lower right-hand corner with 7 lines, upper left works too. Locus plan showing general location of the total tract within town and the zoning districts. vicinity map at scale of town's base map. So, I think this doubles.
Okay.
Names and addresses of all butters and all holders of conservation, preservation, or agricultural preservation easements on plat or on separate sheet. That's on the separate sheet, right?
Yes.
Boundaries survey, including bearings, horizontal distances, and location of permanent markers.
That seems right.
Yep. So that's that lot, and then Carrie has her fingers on the new lot proposed. Yep.
Yeah.
I lost my place.
Tim, just a question on that last one.
Yep.
There was a question on the butters.
Yes.
How do we know that this is right?
We're going to check it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check with the assessor on Thursday or Friday if we accept this. Names of abutting subdivisions, streets, driveways, easements, building lines, parks, public spaces, notation of use of abutting land, and similar facts regarding abutting properties.
There's only 2 roads, right?
Yep, just 2 roads. Yep. Location of all property lines and their dimensions, lot areas in square feet and acres, lot numbers according to town tax map system. Contact town assessor clerk for a lot numbering. So I think those were on the
Page 2.
second.
Dimensions here.
Yep. Do we have acreage listed for the 2 subdivided?
Yeah.
2.2, 7.8.
Okay. Location, are you ready for the next one?
What is that there?
Total area. Area excluding slope. I mean, it's all,
Yep.
yeah.
Location and amount of frontage on public right of way. Okay. Location of building setback lines. So I think there is one.
Right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Existing and or proposed buildings and other structures.
This is not exclusive house location. Is that right?
Yep. Location of any existing or proposed easements, including utility easements and land to be dedicated to public use with the conditions of such dedication. I don't think there's any easements on that lot there. Existing and proposed water supplies, mains, culverts, drains, septic systems, or sewers, proposed connections, or alternate means of providing water supply and sewage disposal.
22 here. Water. What's this? 75 foot.
Right. Lot 2B is.
That 2B will be the new name of that lot.
What's a 75 foot? Figure.
Yeah.
That would be the setback from the septic. Is that correct? The 75 feet? That you-
Yes, yeah,
Oh, because this is the leaching area right here.
that's the wetlands to the septic.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be a wetland setback there, this one.
Sorry, why is it across? Why is it up here?
I don't know, we'll scrutinize that
Okay.
at the time. Existing and proposed streets with names, classification grades, travel surfaces, and right-of-ways.
Yep. First driveway.
Final road profiles, center lines, stationing, grades, and elevations. This is just a simple driveway. Location and width of existing and proposed driveways. Yes, location of all water courses, ponds, standing water, shorefront area, wetlands, existing and proposed foliage lines, rock ledges, stone walls, open space to be preserved, and any historic resources or man-made or natural resources.
Yep. No,
existing and proposed topographical contours based on USGS topographical data with spot elevations where necessary, depiction of steep slopes.
Yep.
Soil and wetland delineation, location of percolation tests and test results, certification of town official witnessing the tests, and outline of 4,000 square foot septic area with any applicable septic setback lines. Which would be, this would,
That's, those there. What is that?
Ryan, did you have a percolation test conducted on this lot?
Yeah, yep.
Test.
At the, we did the test pit at the edge of the leach field, and Barry was present
Yep.
and requested Nick's presence at that as well.
Okay.
I think he's come by and looked at it.
Okay. So the only,
Yeah.
only thing we need for that is we need just an email from Nick, if you don't mind indicating that he was present for the percolation test.
Sure.
Okay.
Simple email will work. He did this recently, so he'll be
Fair enough.
he'll be aware. Location of existing and proposed wells with 75-foot radius on its own lot.
Okay, goes over the road, right?
Yeah, we're not
This
gonna,
is
yeah.
this is existing. That's potential.
Base flood elevations and flood hazard areas based on available FEMA maps. It may not be. There's a button.
There's a lot of this before the drains.
Yeah. There's a wetland that's right there. What, is there anything on there?
Yeah, also finding the perk test kind of.
No, it just says who did it and what,
Okay.
what they use for reference.
Maybe not.
No.
Well, we may not be in the zone.
It's not, it isn't in a flood zone. I don't believe there's,
Okay.
trying to skim this real quick. I can't remember if there's any comment calling that out. Comment number 6 on the second page certifies that it doesn't fall within floodplain, flood hazard.
This is correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Knew
much.
I wasn't pulling that out of thin air.
Good. So you filled out the site plan review checklist, but I don't believe you need to, because you listed it as a major site plan review, but I don't think that's applicable to this.
Okay.
Because it's just a minor subdivision.
Oh, is it my fault?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only, major would be over 3 lots.
Okay.
All right. So the only thing we're missing out of this application is just copies of the submission.
I don't know how long I'll be here. I can be back in 20 minutes with them. I just
Well,
fast little print.
Yeah.
But the formality of it needs to be.
That's all, because we're going to need to give copies to members and give, make one available for the public to review before the hearing.
Yes.
So, anybody want to make a motion?
To accept.
Sure.
So the application?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the application subject to additional copies, the driveway. Do we need that? No.
No.
There's one more thing, Nick's email.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Bear with me while I take some notes. Any more discussion on the application? Okay, all those in favor of accepting, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we've accepted the application. So, I'll hand this back to you. If you'd like to give us some copies of those, we'll be here for a little bit.
Sounds good.
And
I'll scan them over with the signatures.
yes, please, the signature, and then we will schedule a public hearing for the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll see you in a little bit. All right. Just for a moment. All right. Next item is public comments. Hi, Craig.
Hi.
Good evening.
I want to propose to the planning board 2 possible zoning amendments to the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, to be voted on by the town voters at the March 12th, 2024 town meeting. I have the language and the sections and pages that they're on. I have a copy of the page from the current zoning ordinance and an RSA that's related to the second amendment that I'd like to see you consider for submitting to the public.
Absolutely. Let's do this. Start with the first one. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah. And I have copies for your other members who aren't here. There should be 2, 3 more.
I'll hold on to those.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So, you mind if I read them?
Go right ahead. The second one is kind of dependent on the first.
So, the first one, Mr. Evans is presenting is amend section A, 2A, page 4 to read partially as follows. The minimum lot size permitted shall be 217,800 square feet, 5 acres, and which shall include a minimum buildable area of. So the first one is requesting 5-acre subdivision
For the entire town.
Yep, very good. And the second one is amend section A to C to add the following with either a change to existing clause or adding a subclause to what exists currently. Lots located on Class 6 roads. Lots having at least 350 feet of frontage on a Class 6 road may, upon successful completion of the permit process as set forth in RSA 674-41 and Brookfield regulations, be developed with one structure. Subdivision of lots whose sole access or frontage is on a Class 6 road shall not be permitted. Very good.
Right, and the intention, I didn't put it in there, I probably should have, is that the 350 feet would be for a minimum of a 5-acre lot. So if let's say the first amendment I'm proposing the voters say no to 5-acre lots, and they decide, yeah, let's go with class 6 roads the way other towns have, the minimum would be 5 acres.
Okay.
And then I have a set of regulations that actually what I've submitted to you is straight out of the town of Madison. The class 6 road ordinance part. And then they also have regulations, which of course the selectmen would look at, revise, accept, hopefully, and then would pass it as a town regulation. And it basically embodies what's required with the RSA that you have.
Yep.
Namely, most of it generates around the waiver process.
Yes.
So that the law laid out by the state is met completely. And then anything else that the town wants to throw in there. Not to make it complicated, but to make it very clear. The 5-acre zoning, just to speak to it a little bit, is I went back and went through the survey that you folks did in 2018, which you did a very nice job of compiling it and showing the responses. You know, and as in the 31 years I've been here, the forever statement is, let's keep the rural character of Brookfield. And certainly in the 31 years I've been here, the rural character, as best as it can be, has been retained, but there are still areas of the town. I can name some that I think of. Like the Allen Farm, which isn't a trust, but the current owners are both elderly gentlemen. Actually, they're not the owners, they are the recipients of the trust. Judge Walker's land down Walker Drive and Walker Road, rather, and Anna Drive Road. I don't know exactly how many acres he has there, but he's an elderly gentleman. Our town cane recipient, Mrs. McDonald, that has a huge amount of road frontage on Clark Road. And then Mrs. Burns' field across from her house, which is in current use. Cecil Wentworth's field. All of them I would hate to see developed into subdivisions that are, in my opinion, small. 2-acre lots. And I'd like to see, I mean, there was some discussion in that survey about, I don't think it related to the specific number of 5 acres, but increased lot requirement. And as I recall, I don't have it in front of me, I should know better. I want to say at least 50% of the people entertain that as a possibility. But I'm going on my memory.
Yeah. Well, the 5-acre lot item came up this 2 meetings ago. It was brought to us by a community member to investigate. So certainly that is on our agenda as an item to investigate. So this is good timing because the board is going to be reviewing that. That's the agenda item for tonight. And also the second item, the building on class 6 roads. You know, we had a fairly long research project behind that 2 years ago. So certainly, you know, that's of interest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right. possible approval of minutes from September 11th, 2023. I'll make the motion to accept the minutes if everybody's looked them over.
Yes.
Second?
All those in favor of the accepting the minutes from September 11th, 2023, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, old business. The first item is master plan, of which I provided some edits in short term before the last meeting. I didn't know if people had a chance to review at all or had any comments.
I did not.
Okay, I haven't been back to it because I worked on other things this month, so we'll table that. I will look to add more if time allows. The big one is the next item, solar ordinance. So I reached out to a town lawyer regarding the ordinance, and she directed me to our regional planning commission, to which we don't have a relationship with. So I decided to do what any resourceful person would do, which is take the ordinance that she had previously written and rewrite it for our town. So I sent everyone a copy of proposed solar energy systems ordinance. I'll just kind of preface this discussion in the sense that last month, you know, as you provided us with a great starting point there, I'm a little nervous, I'll say, just about the discussion, because we kind of got away from the solar ordinance theme and into other themes. And in my opinion, and I'm happy to be wrong and be questioned, is that we should stay really focused on this one ordinance, the solar ordinance, and any other items we would address separately, so that we get something done. See, once we get an ordinance written, we can put it in front of the town people, and then if it gets accepted, it goes into our zoning, and from there we can start doing the tweaking of, well, maybe this relates to the wind part and the solar part. Maybe then we can start doing like those edits, or bring in a third power source or some other one. I'm of the mind, let's keep
Focused on the issue.
let's be successful in this endeavor rather than cloud it with a bunch of other things. And if I'm happy to be wrong, and if the board feels otherwise, happy to go in that direction too. But I would say we just keep it focused on solar for now. That was the hot button issue that we have in town, and then from there we can address other needs. Okay.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody took a chance to kind of go through it. It's essentially, I kind of took the template and I went through and created it as I saw fit for what we need for our rural agricultural Rec 1 zoning. And then I also included, I felt as I went through it, we needed to include our workforce housing overlay, because that allows for multi-unit residential opportunities, in which there was addressed within this document.
Sorry, Tim, the template was from where?
Durham.
Durham, okay.
Yeah.
Same one.
Yeah. So
They had a lot of stuff that doesn't apply.
they did, and I kind of re-engineered their table of zoning districts and cut out, because they have, they have duplex zoning there, which we don't have. So I wanted to keep it. They also had all kind, they had commercial zone in Durham, which we don't have, and they have other opportunities in which to do things.
And it includes the placement.
Yeah. I robbed.
That's good.
straight, yes.
Yeah.
So the one thing on here that I did keep in, because I was kind of, first of all, I wasn't familiar with it, but I kept it in there because I just did some searches on it, is the solar photovoltaic parking canopy. So I was kind of confused what that was, because I was thinking if somebody wanted to build a carport and use the solar panels as the roof, which it doesn't. It says here elsewhere that a carport can't be used as a solar thing. So apparently a solar PV parking canopy is used in agricultural and commercial situations where they use it as a canopy to house, like you could put like grain or equipment underneath it, almost like a carport, but it's a separate structure somewhere else on the property.
So is it ag only?
Kind of makes sense though.
Well, yeah. So it says it's a.
There's lots of factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. There's height factor. It can be a multi-unit or non-residential solar energy
Size.
system, a utility scale solar energy system, or a group net metering host. And I think in going through it, I was getting confused, and I think other people would be confused reading through it because you have single-family residential solar energy, multi-unit residential, small-scale solar, large utility scale, small group net metering, large group net metering, solar PV, parking canopy, and small group net metering host, accessory use to a single family. So there's a lot of categories, but they also overlap because like a single family house is also a small group net metering host potentially. So I think there's
That's too big.
How does that work?
I don't know, and I was confused as I was going through it, so I was kind of hoping you all would help me out.
Would an ADU, would the principal house have the metering for the other one, potentially?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
So not necessarily single family, but
Right. Well, that's a good
a
point.
multi-use, multi-unit or a workforce overlay or ADU might have it. Because it's it's a panel where the power is shared with somebody else, basically. So like in a subdivision, for example.
If it was set up that way,
Yeah. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any comments or any thoughts about how it's been broken down. Yes, big sigh. I have the same feeling.
Well,
we're
because
not
I think
experts.
initially it was, okay, if it's on the roof, okay. But then thinking about pedestals,
Right. So that's where the definitions I found were kind of important, like freestanding solar energy system is a ground-mounted solar energy system, including a stationary or tracking system, either single axis or dual axis. A solar photovoltaic parking canopy is not a freestanding solar energy system. And then that's where I was kind of, when I went through this, I was thinking to myself that we would all have opinions about how.
So do you think, okay, we need an expert, or we need a category knowledgeable person, right? So does Durham, whoever, who's their solar expert, or is there a UNH solar expert?
didn't
A
Laura
state?
do that?
Yeah,
She did it.
She wrote this.
Well, she might have wrote it, does she
Yeah.
understand this business?
That's a good question.
I mean,
I can't personally vouch for
But I
her.
think for us initially when we were saying, okay, so we're gonna, maybe it's not gonna be freestanding, will be permitted initially, that's what we were debating.
Yeah, I think
And
that's,
then all of a sudden a parking canopy comes into play and it's not considered freestanding, so then it's there. So how do we protect against that? But I think that might be a nice concession.
yeah, when I look.
But it's alternate. like version of it. Because it's based on, I mean, just what we were looking at, there was like the size of it is dependent upon.
Yeah. So I looked at this as far as the terms of what we've just experienced this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, the section 4C placement, well, the basic requirements. A, this accessory use serves single-family residences situated on the same lot. A freestanding solar energy system may have a nameplate capacity rating of 30 kilowatt or occupy a ground area of up to 1,800 square feet.
I'm sorry, can we go back to freestanding definition for a second?
Yep.
Is that right from Durham?
It is.
So they don't differentiate between something on a pedestal and panels that are just sitting on the ground more or less, you know, at an angle?
Yeah, it says ground-mounted solar energy system including a stationary or tracking system. So stationary would be panels on like a rack.
And the tracking is the
Would be what?
rotating?
Yes.
Okay.
It feels like those should be separate to me, but if you've got, you know, some panels that are, I don't know, 5 feet high.
Well, I think that's...
It's a little different than having a 25-foot tall pedestal on an edge.
Well, I think that's where section C, placement, a freestanding solar energy system shall be placed in a location meeting one or more of the following criteria. One, the system is placed where it is largely not visible from a public road abutting the property as determined by the code enforcement officer due to topographical or existing structures or vegetation that are expected to be maintained under the solar energy system until the solar energy system is decommissioned. The system is placed 150 feet or more from any portion of a public road when a system is equal to or less than 12 feet in height and does not meet the requirements above. The system shall be placed behind the fully enclosed part of the residence closest to the public road. When a system is greater than 12 feet in height and does not meet the requirements, the system shall be placed behind the fully enclosed part. It's the same thing. The furthest from the road. So, I think, yeah.
Sorry, this is a stupid question. What does it mean behind the fully enclosed part closest to the road? Isn't the building behind?
Yeah, it would be
Placed
the
in a
building.
location meeting one
Behind the
or more
fully
of the
enclosed part
following.
of the residence closest to the, yes,
Isn't the building what's
yes,
there?
yeah,
So it has to be behind the building,
Yeah.
either 3 or 4.
yes.
So, I mean, this is pretty aggressive. I mean, it is.
It is, but on the other hand, those are all the things we heard at the
100%.
ZBA.
No, so I'm saying, so if anything, to, you know, to kind of use this as a model, I think a lot of people would be in agreement of that.
Yes, okay, I agree with you because
Yeah.
based off of the commentary we heard last month as well as the ZBA meeting, I felt that these were kind of the same talking points that we heard.
So, do you need a building permit for this? No.
So that comes into section 9, other provisions. The following additional provisions apply to all solar energy systems.
Oh, there it is.
A building permit is required for the installation of any system. Setbacks, every part of a freestanding system, including components elevated above the ground, components that track and move, and necessary accessory equipment that is ground mounted shall conform to required setbacks for the zoning district. Maximum height for building mounted systems, the maximum height for any part of the system is 10 feet above the ridge of the roof of the primary building or 10 feet above the highest part of the roof of the primary building where there is no ridge. And then there's the maximum height for freestanding systems is 25 feet. Impervious surface, the maximum impervious surface ratio in the table of dimensions applies to what is on the ground under the solar panels. I think that's probably, they must have impervious surface zoning in Durham. So that one, I think, might be a question mark.
Isn't there a state requirement?
I'm not sure.
5 acre lot, you're good. Well, you can't you can't pave over your entire lot,
Right.
right? But
Well,
one solar panel on a 2-acre lot, I don't think it's gonna change that.
Yes.
The lakeshore regulations have all kinds of regulations around the impervious
Okay.
surface. So for a house on the lake, wanting to put the solar panels someplace, it would probably apply in that
That's good.
area, the shoreland
Yep.
protection.
Thank you,
So
Craig.
that 1,800 square feet or whatever would have to be counted towards it.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are some rules here.
The one whatever that, just 3 and 4 that we were just looking at.
Yep.
I'm still confused there. Less than 12 feet in height. It's got to be behind
Oh, yes.
the residence closest to the road. Part of the residence closest to the road. If it's above 12 feet in height, it's got to be behind the residence furthest from the road. To me, those are the same things, unless 3 means you can put it on your roof.
Oh, 3 and 4 you're talking about? I crossed those out. I didn't think you needed it. Period.
So where else would
Because
you?
if it's not visible from the road, it's not visible from the road. Period. Right? I mean,
So-
it's simple.
So you're
Yeah.
deferring to number 2 then,
Yes.
saying 150 feet or more from any portion of a public road. You're saying that should govern the whole thing.
Right. Make it simple. I don't know what the ramifications of that are, but it seems.
So let's think of it in terms of our scenario that we ran
Sure.
into the summer.
You wouldn't have been able to even have one, would you?
No.
Oh, well, with 4 you could. If you met 4, stick it behind the house, you could have done it. But there's no space. The house is probably 120 feet from the road, so you couldn't have done it otherwise.
So, yeah, so 3 and 4 are really for the neighbors,
Right.
would you say? If you look at that, it's really about the aesthetic, or because if you think about that, if you were on a corner lot like that lot, and you had to put it so it couldn't be seen,
Unless you put it on
there's no issue.
depending on the direction.
Well, that's just based off of where the house was built.
Right.
Right.
So it's apparent that that
That's fine.
scenario, they had to build a pedestal because there was no pitch that was in the correct angle to be able to maximize power generation. So-
Well, it's multi-unit.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm still confused with 3 and 4. And then
That's what I said. If it's that complicated, why can't you make it simple?
You want to ask for?
That's, yeah, we can, Laura, we can inquire.
on
Ask
6,
her what the difference is.
I would say if
She would have an
we go to her to ask for any feedback, we should have all the feedback.
All right.
Make it, and
Worth
then,
its while.
because ultimately, we'll get feedback from her, but on the other hand, we'll ask her to write what the warrant article will say.
Mhm.
And then when we conduct a public hearing on all these, which will probably happen in January, end of December or beginning of January, we'll get comment on all of these items for this.
so
as well as-
this goes to warrant article.
Well, we have to have a public hearing first for feedback.
Yep.
And then once that's finished, we will either amend based off of the feedback we received from the public, or we'll vote to accept it as written, and then we will put it on the warrant.
And the warrant would have all this language.
It would not. The
Yeah,
warrant
you
will
just
have
have
just a little
proposed
paragraph
blah, blah,
saying,
Planning board recommends, whatever.
and it will detail solar ordinance, and and then we'll have a copy available at the polls for people to review.
So 6 and 7, the small utility scale and the small and large net metering,
Yep.
they both say 100 feet. Seems to me that those should at least be the same as the residential 150 feet, if not further.
Yeah.
So can you have a commercial farm or can you not?
That's a great question, of which I was trying to determine the other day. So, in fact, you could build one, but the problem is, how do you transmit the power? Because the only major substation is up on Route 25 in Ossipee, or down in Durham area. So there's no real way, there's no transmission lines from which to connect to the grid.
Are there?
No, not in this corridor where we live.
But there could be, right?
If somebody built it, sure.
Well,
Right.
there's commercial farm here on 5C,
Right.
5E.
Right.
That's, yeah.
So, Greg, did you have
I
comments?
was just going to say that when I looked a year ago into doing a solar farm on an acre and a half that I have that's open, that's perfect for sunlight. And I contacted, I forget the name of the company, but it's a large company that's done tons of solar installations, a lot of big ones. And I was told by them at that point that commercial solar farms were not allowed in New Hampshire. The legislature has not yet passed, Ed may know better than I on this. Maine did have it. And so she said we would not be able to put in what you're asking for, where I would be selling, just selling electric that got produced. Maybe that's changed in the last year, but at the same time, I think it's a good idea. You might just as well plan for it, because sooner or later it's going to come down the pipe.
Right.
People are going to start realizing that there's some money in it.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if Eversource is going to plan a transmission line through this area to connect, you know, us to somewhere else.
There must be a cutoff on the megawatts or whatever, right? Because if you're residential and you have excess, you can put it back.
Yes.
So that doesn't need a transmission line, but if it's big enough, you do need
Well,
upgraded
you're
transmission lines.
I can't remember how much kilowatts is coming through a power line up the road, but you would need something far greater.
Then just the 3 power lines that go through?
Yes.
The limitation is the wiring.
Yes, it is.
Right.
As of now, I think the legislature already changed that. But the infrastructure isn't all over.
It's exactly it.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's
the limitation now. Is Eversource going to put all that extra wiring up? I don't see them doing it now in this rural area, because the area may support some commercial stuff, but you still have to get the power. Well, I mean, the county was approached by doing this, but there's no line to go from the county complex all the way to 16.
Yeah.
So that was the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, no, Marshall, you were going to say something there.
No, I was just going to say that if need be, through the TAC committee, I know the Somersworth financial guy who's looking at the town to see if it makes sense to have a farm.
Yeah.
So I think they've done a lot of the analysis.
So
Now that's a different situation because they probably have the power.
Summers, down there they have.
Yeah.
And I know Conway built one on their landfill, a solar farm.
Okay.
So I know that you could do that as a municipality.
Milton has one too on their landfill.
Yeah.
There's a big one in
Huge
Acton,
one.
H Road, which is in the middle of nowhere, so I don't know where that power goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is good. I would say that we just continue to have discussion around this. I think we're missing some members tonight. I think we should, I propose we continue this discussion next month with them to get more feedback, and then that would be November. We can then, we can pull all of our notes, and I can send it to the town lawyer to review, and then we can have something for December. And then that kind of puts us in the right direction to get this in front of a public hearing. And for, because I'm taking it, we're going to want to move forward with this as the zoning ordinance.
We'd like to get it on the ballot or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I think we can. I think it's achievable in the timeline that we have right now.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
What I'm noticing happening this time is there was an issue. You're trying to create an ordinance. It's pretty important to everybody, apparently, because when you had a public hearing, a lot of people showed. It's a shame, I don't know how to do this. Is there a way you could have a public hearing during this process? Because what's going to happen is what always happens. You work on it, you work on it, you work on it. You have a public hearing, and then you're flooded with all the ideas. Is there any way we can get more people in here during the creation of this ordinance? Like, is it wrong to say you're having a public hearing specifically about this to get more people in this room? Every person who was in that public hearing should have been here tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know what the process would be.
I don't think it's a great feedback, great comment. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would say that, you know, we will I think we do a fairly good job of trying to get these together as best as we can for the town. I think in this situation, I think it's what we've taken from Durham and crafted for our own use is pretty thoughtful to the feedback that we saw and heard. I don't know the best answer for that, but certainly I think we're trying not to be defensive, but I feel like we're trying to do what's best for the feedback we've received.
Well, I'll try to get the word out. I want a copy of that.
Okay.
That's the draft.
Yeah.
And I'll try to get more people.
Appreciate it. Yes.
When they were preparing the zoning for the recreational area, they held what they called charrettes.
Yes, charrette. Yes.
You know, on a Saturday morning, they had group leaders so that they worked with small groups. The group leaders were prepared with the definitions of what all this stuff means so that they can explain it and try to use that to then bring to the planning board to make the specifics of the what can be done and what can't be done in the recreational zone. And it was pretty effective. A lot of people came out for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at it from a timing perspective. I'd love to do that.
Yes, right.
Yes, Chris.
Is the board willing to entertain a different direction for this?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
How about permit by rule to get something on the books for it, and then you can use all of the information you've just been discussing there in terms of setting guidelines for the individual case, because there's certainly a big difference between someone putting solar panels on their roof or as opposed to a pedestal, or moving forward trying to be proactive rather than reactive, maybe all alternative energy, because it could be anything. If you know, it could be a windmill, it could be geothermal, it could be any number of things, but just in terms of getting something, an ordinance squared away, permit by rule. That's what the town of Wakefield has for solar, actually, is permit by rule.
Yeah.
Because they ran into the same problem. Every case is so site-specific with its own challenges that they wound up reviewing every individual thing, and that was how they proceeded in that process.
No, it's good.
Yeah, that's what OSFI does also.
Yeah.
They site plan, you have to get a site plan, it has to go, each project has to go through its own.
Yeah.
That would also speak to the public input on an individual case-by-case basis.
All right, good. I'm almost inclined to say potentially we just have a statement as Chris has proposed for everything else. You know, as a solution to our debate we had last month, which was how do we capture
Like that.
all the other items here. That's a good question.
So what would that be like? Any alternative energy source that needs to run through the planning board, basically.
But then, yeah, I could see how that could become troublesome because somebody shows up with a thermonuclear reactor and here we are weighing in on whether or not we should permit it, you know? So, not to make a joke, but it feels that way sometimes, you know? I think that's a good point. I think we should. That's got me thinking here. All right. Are we all set with the solar ordinance for this month? We'll continue it next month.
Travel, you're gonna transition into gravel pit.
Not just yet. I'm going to take care of it right here. You're all set there? All right, we'll continue.
I don't mean to interrupt, but thank you.
No, you're fine. You're good.
I appreciate it.
No, thank you very
I
much.
don't know what I did, but
No, you're good.
thank you.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll see you next month.
All right, thank you.
That's when I print you at home.
Yeah. All right. We're going to transition to gravel pit inspections, of which I did not get to sending the notices out last month. So we need to send the notices out. Will you help me again this month? You'll be around.
Yeah. So we're going to just say the same thing we said last time, correct?
Yes.
And what about the decommissioning plan, whatever it's called?
We're going to do a reclamation plan. We're going to, I would hold on that for now. We're going to evaluate a resource to see if it's in there.
Sounds good.
I'll help you with anything you need on that. I would say we just plan for the month of November for those to happen.
And so those will go out this month.
So it would happen after November 13th is our next meeting. All right, the next one is update of subdivision regulations. Ed was kind enough to provide an update to Article 10, funnel development of waterfront lots. He provided a nice rewrite here. Is there any feedback or comments on that at all?
I think it was Rich Sackerman who was questioning whether waterfront should include other waterfront besides Kingswood Lake. But other than that, really all change was taking out the first part of that first sentence. So it doesn't refer to the zoning ordinance, which changes from time to time.
Yep.
I mean, is that the only, it is the only body of water, right? Because a creek or nothing else is considered a lake. I mean, is a pond considered waterfront?
You have to look at the definition. You ask good questions.
I mean,
Do we need to define?
Right.
yeah.
So that in the current zoning, it just calls for waterfront lot, it doesn't specify location. So
And then I think Rich's point was we want to specify waterfront lot on Kingswood Lake, and that way it excludes other waterfront. Or do we want to just say, and other water bodies? Of which, it's, you know, brooks,
Yeah.
creeks, whatever. And would anybody want to funnel develop?
Well, there's a big difference. You don't say you have waterfront property if you have a creek in the front of your house.
Is that our only real edit on this?
I mean, so,
Yeah. I mean, really, this article is trying to prevent, it's trying to preserve the ecological state of the body of water that lots are near. We can go either direction, I'd say.
I mean, maybe we wait and ask Rich what he was,
His intention.
yeah.
Okay, we can do that. I think the only other items in the subdivision regulations I was looking at was just some housekeeping items. So why don't I bring to the next meeting a draft of the regulations with, and I'll highlight what we've changed.
And then what happens with that? Tim, will you vote on it, or does it require a hearing?
We can have a public hearing, and at that, in order to enact it, we don't have to have we don't have to submit it to the town meeting for
Right,
warrant
but
article.
we would have to have a public hearing.
We would have a public hearing for comment, and then we can enact it after that. Good. All right, we'll move on to 5 acre lot minimum. Hot topic. So any thoughts, comments, research, anything? I mean, we're kind of compromised as a group here because we're missing half our board, but anything, any research or anything people want to share on this?
One question I have, personally, I like the idea. And I really appreciate the rural character, which is why I moved here, 25 years ago. But I'm wondering if, somebody, let's take Russ, let's say he had a 5 acre lot. He could currently build his house. This would prevent people like that from being able to build a house on their parents' property.
Right.
So in that sense, you're kind of screwing anybody that's got, between 2 and 5 acres.
Yeah.
Or whatever the numbers would be.
Yeah. There's another way of looking at it too, in the sense that if you had a 12 acre lot, your parents had a 12 acre lot, and you carved out 2 acres, built a house on it, sold it, took another 2 acres,
Yeah, you
built
could
a
have
house on it.
6 houses.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Which is I love that, but it's always, you're basically taking money, for lack of a better term, from people that, in that situation, for example, if it was a 5 acre lot.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at that, I would say. Definitely. Because I think,
I'm just trying to think of the objection.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of it.
Yeah. Anything?
Well, I guess we could even see how many people it affected, right? Could look at it if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
Well, it would be moving forward, right? Like
It would be moving
It'd be
forward.
moving forward,
Yes,
so-
it would be once it's enacted,
Mhm.
you know, March, if it was approved by the town.
I think it's, I mean, again, it's going to depend what the majority is going to be interested in, but I mean, I would think that most people are going to be in agreement with wanting
I
that,
think so.
because in keeping the town, you know, kind of like what you said, you know, how it was intended to be, rural, yeah.
Yep. Greg, did you have any other comments?
I haven't done a survey of all the subdivisions recently, but when I look at Mountain Road,
Yeah.
they're all 5 to 10 acres. And even the Wiggins subdivision that was done in 72 or 74, those were all 5 and 10 acre lots.
Yeah.
So, to tell you the truth, do I want to say this? Yes. The impetus that I've been talking about this with different people for quite some time, well over a year. And it was the subdivision that you have before you that you'll be talking about and making a decision that really pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
Not only is it 12 acres, or 13 acres, it used to be part of the homestead that I own in the 18th century. And it's to me, it's not even suitable for 3 lots, the way it's laid out currently. But, you know, people have a right to do what they want with their land, but I think it's time for the town to, and I agree that I think a lot of people in town, it'll be interesting to see when it comes to the vote, are interested in protecting it a little bit more.
This, I think, this situation definitely highlights it for me also.
Yeah.
Because you can see what's going on.
I think it's proactive as opposed to being reactive.
Well, that's my concern also, because I keep on thinking about the future of Brookfield and the changes that can happen in families selling property, people dying off. It's just a reality that we need to be proactive about, I think. And I think now's the time to do it.
Any other towns have 5 acre zoning? Madison or Freedom or some of the more rural towns?
Not sure.
Christine, you know that all?
I don't know offhand.
I think it'd be cool for like the only.
Just to be cool.
That's right, that's the only reason.
All right, well, I would say let's continue this conversation next month also. I just wrote a note for myself. Typically around this time I start compiling a list of warrant articles for January for our public hearing. I think there's agreement that what was brought to us in public comment tonight about possible zoning change language. Why don't I put that on the list of warrants, since that sounds like right now unanimous amongst us. And we'll just use that. We'll still continue to build out our articles.
Maybe I should know this, but how does this work? Do we take Craig's language directly, or do we modify it and create our own language?
So what we will do to start is we will, I will rewrite that section of the zoning as Craig has done here, and we'll just put it as, we'll just start listing them all out. And then what will happen is we'll get to this, before we have the public hearing, we'll ask the town lawyer to write the actual ballot language for us. And then we will have that kind of in tandem with the actual, what the zoning ordinance is going to change to. And then eventually what happens is I will submit the ballot articles as they're written by the town lawyer to the selectmen and to the town clerk for inclusion after we vote on all of them. And then I'll have a second document which will be made available to the public, which will have the ballot language, the final language, which we'll have here posted for people to review. Great. All right. That includes old business. New business was I sent along the 2023 planning and zoning legislation changes review as excellent public comment from last meeting to look this over. I sent it out to everybody, so Mr. Comeau should be happy. And thank you for the reminder. I did have it in my inbox, so it was good. Hopefully everybody will take a chance to read through it. I don't see anything glaring as far as things we need to amend. The fire code statute, which is kind of interesting about the 12-foot driveways. And then the only part was the performance bonding. We do have zoning around the wind generation that discusses bonding, so I don't know if we need to review that to make sure it's consistent with the SB 78. And that's the only other thing. The final bills for distribution list that I also sent along, just the only other items that were kind of interesting were the 91A items regarding sealed documents being reviewed every 10 years, which I thought was interesting. So I don't think they can be sealed indefinitely, I thought was the previous, is that right, Ed?
Well, I would argue the fact that the statute says it stays sealed until that issue is finished.
Right.
Or concluded, and then it has to be reviewed.
Yeah. I'll be honest, as far as the planning board's concerned, I don't know of any sealed minutes or anything from the past. I don't know if there's a log or anything of them. I've only seen the selectmen seal personal documents or whatever they do in a private meeting. So,
what would be sealed?
For the planning board, I don't know. There's never been a non-public meeting for a planning board.
Unless they were discussing at the time a planning board assistant who's an employee of the town. That's the only condition I could think you would have. But
No, I'm just saying that there hasn't been one that I can recall.
Right. Yeah. So, sorry. No, you're good. Thank you. I don't think there's anything else in here for us to look at. Okay. All right. Very good. Let's move into member comments. Any member comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the subdivision that passed a month ago, I think it was, the Burn property.
Yep.
Is that file finished? And if so, can I have it to process it into the property records?
I owe it to you. I have that one and another one I have to give you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
In my pile of papers tonight, I just took it out and set it aside because I knew I needed to go through it.
You can always throw it in my mailbox.
I will. Yeah, and I have the Mylar I have to drop off up at the
registry.
registry.
Thanks. Yeah, and I already received the
Yes.
black on white signed form
Yeah.
for the flat files.
Good.
So our intention is to have the solar, public hearing for solar. Do we have that at one of our meetings or separately? Along with the public hearing for subdivision regs.
We can have we can lure people in to talk about.
Aren't we always
solar.
a public?
We are. Yes, it's not
Nobody shows
well, it's a public
Right.
meeting, it's not a public hearing. So the public, you have to have a public hearing in order to pass either regulations or proposed zoning ordinances for ballot, as well as for subdivisions and things like that.
So we would intend to have another meeting in November, finalize the subdivision regs changes, the solar stuff, and then have public hearings on those in December?
Yeah, so we've done it in past years where we would have our December regular meeting and then a week later or 2 weeks later, we would have a public hearing just, around the
7th of the meeting.
Like a bonus meeting.
bonus meeting. We could have it either in conjunction with the December meeting, depends on where we get with everything.
Okay.
We've even had it in the beginning of January, so it just depends on our productivity.
And the warrants get written February or earlier?
No, I think I haven't looked at the 2024 calendar yet for that, so I have to check when that is. I don't know if I'm sure the election date's been published, but I don't know if maybe it has. I haven't looked.
The calendar is out. It's usually in the back of the town and city.
Yeah.
And they used to post it in there for the selectmen, but usually the warrant articles are sometime around like mid-January. They have to be finished.
Yeah.
And then the budget hearing is in February,
Yeah.
usually around the 11th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah. I mean, we've had our public hearing right up to a couple of days before the deadline. So, yeah. We're coming into the busy stretch here, which is good. Well, if there's no other member comments, we'll adjourn. Our next meeting is November 13th. There will be a public hearing. It is 8:26 p.m.